So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stuart Seiden. I'm the Executive Director of the International Partnering Institute. And today we're having our introductory lunch and learn with owners that we're going to be doing about one a month here. And where owners can talk about their capital programs as well as their partnering programs and for the general interest of the public. And these are intended right now to be at no cost and to garner interest in their projects as well as in collaborative partnering. So today we have Judy Ross of San Jose Mineta International Airport. And I'm going to let Judy introduce herself and begin her talk about the airport and its capital program.
Well, good morning, everyone, or I should say it's probably afternoon at this point. And thank you for inviting me to be the very first Owners Lunch and Learn with IPI. It's quite an honor, or I guess I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but here I am. Again, I am Judy Ross. I'm with the Norman Y. Mineta San Jose International Airport, and I'm the assistant director here. I've been at San Jose for roughly 7 years. The first 2 years were the deputy for planning and development, and I've been the assistant director for 5 years now. And what I'd like to do is just kind of take you through our capital program, mainly the larger projects. So you have a little bit of a sense of what we're looking at in the next few years. I do want to mention that we have several opportunities that are out in RFP or bidding at this time. So if there happens to be any difference from what's in that RFPs or the bids, the RFP and the bid documents take precedence. So I just would like to share that with you right from the start. Okay, just a little bit about our airports. As you can see, it's our vision and our mission are on the screen. And we considered ourselves the heart of the Silicon Valley. We have roughly 70 firms, large firms, basically tech firms within about a 50-mile range from us. So we're very embedded into what we term as the Silicon Valley. We have 2 runways, and I'm happy to report that we had just crossed the 10 million passenger mark from the last 12 months. It's the highest point we've been since the start of COVID. We're at 36 gates, of which 8 are considered temporary. We do have 9 airlines at this time, and if you saw in the news, Zip Air will be our 10th airline, and it starts service to Narita in December of 2022, which is right at the end of this calendar year. And we have 43 non-stop destinations, which are domestic and international. And as I mentioned, the passenger traffic, if you look a little bit about our history, we were one of the fastest growing airports pre-COVID. And as you can see, we had really dramatic growth in the 5 years right before COVID, basically at a 67% rate, which is tremendous. And we like being able to serve that many passengers. But with growth, it also had its challenges that we were working through. Then you see what happened during COVID. In 2020, we're projecting to reach 16.5 million annual passengers, and what the result was 4.7 million. And most of that was within the first couple months of 2020. We started growing back in 2021 with 7.4 million passengers. And as you can see, by the end of this calendar year, we're estimating to be up at 11.7 million passengers, which is right around the area we were between 2016 and 2017. And what our forecasts are is that we should be back to pre-COVID levels sometime in 2024, given the growth rate we're seeing. Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the partnering journey that we've had. And in my past, before I came here to San Jose, most of the projects had a single partnering at the beginning of the project. And the project charter, the roles, responsibilities, escalation ladder, and have everybody agree to it. Unfortunately, in that past, it was a single partnering. It didn't have partnering throughout the project. And there were even some cases we never looked at that, what happened in initial partnering before or throughout the project. Then I moved to San Jose. I had a visitor from IPI, and that also invited me to the IPI annual conference and the award ceremony. Around that same time, we were having difficulty with a project. And then after I had the visitor, I listened to the different speakers at IPI and the benefits that collaborative partnering brought forward. And also at the award ceremony, you can hear the different things that each of those award winners did to make their project successful, an award-winning project. So I came back, and also I was reviewing this project and with the project manager, and I had a light bulb that went off, and I thought, oh, this is a case that we could introduce collaborative proctoring model to the project. And it wasn't at the start, it was toward the start of construction, but we brought it in, and as a result, the team worked very well together, and the project was essentially redesigned in the field as it was being constructed. And even though there was a high number of change orders, that project completed on budget and on schedule. And the stakeholdering department, which is operations, was very happy with the end result. And it's a system that is highly relied on today in our operations division. And I'd like to point out that IPI selected this project as the pilot project of the year. And we also received the Diamond Level Award, which shows the airport security technology project, and it's a camera and technology system. So I'm trying to show the camera in front of the air traffic control tower. So that's what that picture is about. Then also we added the interim terminal gates. We partnered from the beginning all the way through the project to construct 6 gates, and it was completed within 11 months. Very accelerated project, and it too received the Diamond Level Award from IPI. So it's not brought in collaborative partnering, and what we do see is project success from that collaborative partnering. Okay, I'm going to talk about a couple larger projects that we have going on. I'm not going to talk about all the projects, but just some high level projects. Back about 4 years ago, we had concessions that were doing upgrades to the construction facilities. And when the authority having jurisdiction was reviewing the plans and started asking about the path of travel and the restrooms and other amenities to make sure they were ADA accessible, we found out there was a lot of areas that weren't. So we did hire a consultant to come in and do a complete airport assessment of all our facilities. And what ended up is with 2,100 corrections that would need to be made throughout our facilities, including the parking lots and garages. So to bring it up to date, we are under construction with those improvements in the parking lots and basically the path to travel on the land side. As of today, we are in the process of going out to bid within, I guess, the next month for what we call phase 3A, and that's all the terminal improvements. And that includes both terminals and a lot of restroom work, a lot of correcting angles that didn't meet the ADA requirements. So a lot of small miscellaneous things throughout the terminal. And I'm happy to report that with the bipartisan infrastructure law, The FAA is awarding us $10 million to assist with that particular terminal project. And then moving on to the rest, our next phase is working in the CONRAC to, which is the blue, which is to correct the ADA challenges in that area. And then you see kind of the light lime green. And that's the Terminal A Ground Transportation Center. That area, even if we tried to design to meet ADA, it basically is the reconstruction of that whole area. So the last scope will be really to address the ground transportation area in Terminal A, basically by rebuilding it. So significant work in the ADA area. Then I'll go on to the master plan program. The master plan, interesting enough, is we were working through this master plan program before COVID. We had been in the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, for those who are not in California. And we had just completed it and was ready to schedule it before City Council in March of 2020. The week it was scheduled for council, the whole country shut down. I guess the whole world shut down. And so we wanted to ensure that we were able to keep our partners and all the stakeholders that we had in alignment for the CEQA documents and on the mitigation measures intact. So we scrambled and started working with our mayor, and he agreed that this is the time for planning, and so we should get it back on the council docket for in April. So we were able, only had a month delay. We were able to take the CEQA and get it certified by our mayor and city council in April of 2020. I do want to note that the FAA is still working on the National Environmental Protection Act for the terminal expansion only, basically the gates. And happy to say that they have cleared all other projects through their 163 clearance, meaning NEPA will not apply to the remaining projects. I do want to point that the master plan program has two major project components. First was the runway incursion mitigation improvements. It's basically airfield improvements. Prior to the CEQA document, we had also done a runway incursion mitigation study that identified the areas within the airfield that needed to be revised because the FAA standards had changed over time. And so what you see before you is all the green areas, even changing the stub outs, which means we can no longer taxi from the apron straight onto a runway. For situational awareness, the aircraft has to make turns before they hit the runway. And that's what you see on the green stubs on the bottom toward the terminal complex. It's removal of the high energy taxiways in the middle of the airfield, and then some adjustments to wide expanses of pavement, which are no longer permitted. So those are several airfield projects that will be done in not, let's say the midterm, but the major project in this study is the blue, and that's Taxiway Victor. Taxiway Victor is basically a new taxiway on the west side of the airfield. Before, years ago, that it was basically a general aviation on the west side of the airfield. It still is, but it's a different type of general aviation. It's no longer the single engine and the twin engine propeller type aircraft. And what we see is numerous high performance business jets on the west side of the field, much more than we have the smaller general aviation aircraft. And so that warranted a new taxiway that was built much stronger than what we had for the smaller aircraft. So it would be much easier for the high performance business jet aircraft to maneuver through that area, and also much safer. And as you can see, it's a $78 million project. It has multiple phases. It's multiple phases by what the FAA had indicated they can fund with Airport Improvement Program funding. So that's the phases, and we'll build it as we receive funding from the FAA. But that's a near-term project, and what you see on the right side of the screen, the kind of golden yellow, we have gone out to bid, and that it will be awarded sometime before September. We're just waiting to receive the grant offer from the FAA. And then you also can see a lot of payment removed by the crosshatch. Okay, next portion, I'll go right into the terminal area capital projects. That's the second component of the master plan program. And what you can see here, and I'm sorry, it is so small, on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, or what would also be considered the southeast portion, there are several buildings under what would be the future expansion area. And what this would entails is the relocation of the our facility, which the ARF has been relocated, and we opened it in March, but the building is still there waiting for demolition. It includes relocation of the facilities campus, which that RFP is already and currently out on the street, and moving that facilities campus again right next door to the new ARF on the southwest side of the field. It also includes relocating the fuel facilities and airline waste disposal facility to the northeast side. And you can see that to the right-hand side, and which would also be the northeast portion of the airport. So we have, we can remove the facilities that are in the footprint. Also, the police department is removing their hangar, which is located on the southeast to the southwest. Again, adjacent to the ARF, which means we have a very tight facility in the southwest triangle with the PD hangar, the ARF, and the new maintenance complex. And then it's the demolition of all those buildings in that location. I also will mention that we do have a belly cargo facility located in the footprint, and it's actually right, you'll see the little red box right on top of the blue. That's our belly cargo facility. So when facilities is moved to the new campus, that belly cargo will be constructed on top of the current facilities campus. And to continue on, I should point this out and onto this as I was describing it, but the facilities campus is outlined in the purple right next to the ARF, and if on the right side of the ARF would be the PD hangar. And just a small project around what that red is. The red is a general aviation run-up area, which is also part of the RIM. Okay, well, I mentioned the belly freight and the area on the overall map. The belly freight, we are looking at a roughly a 93,000 square foot building, which houses the warehouse, the ramp, the truck yard. We estimate it'll be right around 15 bays. It would also include a general use receiving docks for our concessions as well, so we can remove the concessions out of the middle of the terminal complex. And we're also looking at ensuring that it is flexible and expandable, and it can host customs facilities. British Airways had reactivated their flight to Heathrow in June, and they tend to bring a lot of belly cargo that needs to be processed here. So it's not only domestic cargo, it also will be able to handle international cargo with customs and border protection. Okay, the terminal area improvements, and more it's a snapshot of the overall airport drawing that you did see. So it also, you can see off to the right or the southeast of the expansion, that's where the new belly cargo facility will be. But I do want to point out, we are looking at a hotel, and I believe we had permission up to, I believe it was about 300 rooms in that hotel in Arcequa. But as you can tell, all our short-term parking that's currently exists south of the current terminal and in the lots where the hotel will be, will take basically all our short-term parking out. We'd only have about 300 spaces left of what we have in the contract. So that's the reason we need the short-term parking garage. Now, we do have secret clearance up to 5,000 spaces in that parking garage, but we absolutely do need a minimum at least 2,100 spaces in that garage just to accommodate all those parking spaces that the development will be upon. And as too, I should mention for the hotel will be more of a business real estate transaction. We don't anticipate that owning and operating that ourselves. Maybe at some point at the end of that particular lease, 30 or 40 years from now, that's a decision that will be made then. But we look at it as a business real estate transaction, more so than developing ourselves. The other projects will develop ourselves, except for the belly cargo. We're still analyzing if it's going to be a real estate transaction or if it's potential our own development and lease out to the airlines. And to mention the terminal expansion, it's an increase of 14 gates. We got approval up to 42 gates, and it would basically remove the 8 temporary gates that we have built over the years to accommodate the growth. We'll relocate 2 gates. As you can see, one over in the far right side on the north side of Terminal A. The gate 1 is back in that corner, and there has been difficulty from mainline aircraft getting back into that corner. So we'd like to replace that one. And also in the international area between international and domestic, there was another gate that was squeezed in there, that full aircraft, particularly the wide bodies that are coming in internationally, has challenges fitting in, and they have to close the gate when one of the international wide bodies come in. So we'll relocate that other gate to the expansion and readjust that little area between the international and the domestic gates. And again, the 4 new gates. And you'll say, well, you're doing this big effort for just 4 gates. And actually it's not, because when we did the 8 gates, temporary gates, we only added gates. We did not add to the front end processing. So nothing was done with the ticket count area, the baggage handling systems, the baggage claim, security checkpoint. So with this expansion, the processing will be matched with the number of gates. You can say we've got 42 gates, 36 gates will take us to 18 million passengers. However, the front end processing will only take us to 14 million passengers a year. So it's really imbalanced, and that's why it's important to get the permanent gates in and include the processing systems that can handle that number of passengers. Okay, and everything has a schedule. We put our schedule together. This was done in February. It hasn't been revised since. It still remains fairly close. Important aspect to us, the schedule is going to be dictated by the passengers and the passenger returns. And as you mentioned, as you can see in 2022, our financial forecast is kind of matching between the air service, and the financial forecast is kind of matching where we're going to be at the end of 2022. So right now it looks promising, but there's a lot of actions that we have to take before we go full into the terminal expansion. And this kind of outlines that. And some of it's financial, some of it is bringing a project manager to assist us with the work that needs to be done very early on and help us set up. And one of the things is to really analyze the schedule again and then some enabling projects and how they have to be sequenced throughout the development program. But this is our best take as of February. And again, we will revisit it as soon as the program manager is selected. Okay, just want to mention the future opportunities. Bindingo is the official City of San Jose notices for any potential opportunities across the city, and ours is no less. And you can see the opportunities that are coming up in the immediate, I would say 6 months. And then we also want to point out that the city is very interested, in particular, our city council is to encourage participation from our disadvantaged business communities and the local small business enterprises. I think that's my last slide, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And if you'd like to unmute your microphones, and if you have some questions, be happy to answer those.
This is John Michalka. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Good presentation. Thank you. The correlation between the master plan schedule and the projects that are listed in your RFP, is there a map that tells us a little better about which projects fall into which category? I mean, some are obvious and some are not so obvious.
Specifically, we don't have that mapped yet. It's probably a good idea. Many of the efforts, we're waiting for the program manager to get on board to help assist us with that. But for now, we are working through the enabling projects, and what you see on the screen before you are basically the first four that will probably be out the gate. And with the cargo developer and the hotel developer shortly thereafter.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have some more questions out there?
Hi, Judy. This is Doug with Ovra. Thanks again for doing that. What projects are the program manager going to be responsible for? Is that already defined?
Anything we want them to help with.
Okay.
The RFP is very open. The RFP does, for those that it's an active recruitment right now. So it's an active RFP. So whatever I say, be mindful, it's whatever the RFP says, but it does have projects identified in the RFP, but also we do have the ability to have them assist where we need assistance.
Great, thank you.
Hi, it's Bob Nibby with Nibby Brothers General Contractors. Just curious, what is your procurement method for contractor selection or methods?
We can do, of course, design bid build. We can do design build. The city does not have CMR within its charter, so it's not a permitted method at this time within the city. As far as smaller projects and any project that will have AIP grant funding in it will be design bid build. Some of the larger projects will be design build. And for example, the garage, we completed a garage with design build. It worked well. There's no reason why we wouldn't do it design build. The larger terminal project more than likely will be design build. And then I guess the third method would be if we do the business transactions with a cargo developer and a hotel developer, more like a P3, but we're calling it a business transaction, similar to what we did with Signature on the west side of the airfield.
All right, thanks.
And other questions for Judy?
Or if you're shy, you can put them in the chat too. I do have the chat up that I can address if you'd like to chat in as well.
Well, while we're waiting for someone to think of a question, I'll go ahead and mention that our plan is to do these lunch and learns on a monthly basis. And we don't have anyone scheduled for September. We're working on that. In October, we do have the Department of State Overseas Building Operations scheduled to talk about their variety of projects that they have around the world. So anyway, more. See, we've got a question in the chat here. Judy, did you want to read that and go through it?
What is conditions here? Okay, the question is, what, if any, conflicts have you had to resolve on this project? Right now it's just getting staffing to help work through this. I know that we lost our deputy a few months ago, and we are in the process of filling that to help lead this effort. And we're also, like I mentioned, bringing on a program manager to help us work through the sequencing. So if it's possible to accelerate it, as long as it makes sense with our passengers and our financial plan. You know, if you can say there's probably conflicts across the board because there are projects that are in the way and we have to relocate those facilities before we can, and demo the old facilities before we can build on them with, if it's a relocated cargo or if it's terminal expansion. That's kind of what we're doing. But right now, we're just looking to get additional resources to support setting up the program and moving forward. So if anybody else has a question, like to put in the chat, or just feel free to unmute yourself.
This looks like this.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, for your comment. Oh, that was just me. So.
This is John Machok again with WSP. You didn't mention the CUP, or is that a facility that you're going to construct, basically build a new one?
Okay, yeah, I didn't include that. I'll need to adjust that. We will need to look at a central utility plant. When we bring on the program manager, we'll need to look to see if it just needs to be with the terminal expansion area, or if our existing facility is outdated and we need a full replacement across the entire campus. So that's something that we're expecting the program manager to help us make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for your comment, Carrie. I'm just saying, it was good to see so many people that I recognize.
So Judy, roughly what sort of, and I was busy doing operational things. What is the basic time frame for all these projects that you're looking at?
Well, it's a several-year process. We believe that the facilities campus is an accelerated project. And once that gets moved, it opens up that area to allow the other enabling projects to get out of the way. If we have record growth like we did before COVID, we're going to be at our capacity in short order. And even today, if you go out on the curb, and even the ticket counters, the curb, it gets congested at certain peak times of the day. Also, the baggage handling system, we've had extensive lines with just individuals that want to drop off the passengers and customers that want to drop off the bags. And that is due to, before COVID, we were basically 50% leisure and 50% business. Now we're seeing that imbalance, that balance change, where we're seeing an increase in leisure passengers and customers more so than business. Before COVID, the business passenger just took his bag and went right up to the checkpoint. Leisure travelers have bigger bags and they have to check them at the ticket counters. And that's causing us some backup, even if we're just at 10.1 million passengers at this time, at the ticket counters, where there can be some very long lines during the peak hours at the ticket counter just to drop bags off. And there's like the probably the worst time is around 4:30 to 6:30 in the morning. But we do have another peak at noonish, between, I guess, 11:30 and 1 o'clock, and then the night peak, which is basically the end, literally at the end of the day, 9 to 11. So we don't follow the typical rush hour, but that's the rush 3 peaks for us. Okay. Okay. John asked the question if there was any opportunity for a light rail extension to the parking garage. That's another opportunity that is being led by the Department of Transportation. It's called the Airport Connector. Again, I'll just caution, since it's an active RFP, the RFP dictates, but what it looks as, there'll be some type of connection from the Deardown station, and that the Deardown station should have Caltrain, light rail, busing, it's a vision to be the transportation hub for the city. And then from that would be a connector to the airport. And it's been on the books as some type of connector to a rail for, decades, except the connection was going from the light rail Fifth Street, or was it going from Santa Clara? Right now, it looks like it's from Deardown, and that's kind of where it's settled. During the initial construction back, I guess, 2007, which completed in 2010, there was accommodations for some type of rail to come onto the airport in the Conrack area, or just south of where the terminal is now. So we're being mindful. We are keenly involved and in tune with our DOT as a partner in this process. And exactly what it ends up being depends upon the technology that is selected for the connection to the Deardown station, will help inform us exactly where it's going to connect to into the airport. It could be the Conrack or parking garage, or it could be connected some way into the terminal. All depends upon the technology. But it's kind of early in the process, and we're working through that at this time. So thank you, John, for bringing that up.
And more questions for Judy? I hear silence.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that if you're interested in participating in our opportunities, we do keep lists of all those are interested. And we do have outreach blast when there's an opportunity that does come up. So if you have any particular project or just general interest with opportunities that we do have, feel free to send me an email at jross@sjc.org, and I'll make sure that your contact information gets to the outreach employee or staff member, and they can put you on the list and make sure that you are notified when we do have opportunities. Even at the same time, it hits the dingo. So it will say it's open and point you to the dingo.
And is the dingo the best place to find the RFPs and proposals and bids and stuff?
Yeah, that is the official website for this, for opportunities within the city of San Jose. But again, you can send me your contact information. We will put you on our list and send you emails when there's an opportunity. And you will get, and we don't decipher that this group is for the new fueling and waste disposal facility or ADA. It's a big blast. So you get on the list and you will get every single opportunity that we have. Okay, well, thank you for coming to the first Lunch and Learn. I hope I provided you with some useful information and different opportunities that we have here at Mineta San Jose International Airport. Again, if you have any questions outside the opportunities that are now published, feel free to let me know. If you're interested in being on our mailing list for opportunities, just let me know that too, and I'll be happy to make sure you're on that list with our respective team member. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Stuart.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you for a great presentation and everything. And we look forward to doing these every month. We'll see about September, but definitely in October with the Department of State's overseas building operations. And would certainly encourage those of you who are not members of IPI to join IPI and to learn more about collaborative partnering, as well as learning more about the owners that we have. We're looking to do this on a monthly basis. So thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.